Hey guys, welcome to the Film Pundits. We are doing yet again another review of The Strain from Guillermo del Toro and Chuck Hogan. My name is Adam Hlavik, and I am joined here once more, again, always and forever, by Mr. Eric Bratley. And how you doing?
I'm so great.
Yeah?
So excited to talk about this episode.
Me
Some fun
too.
stuff happened.
It's
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to start talking about just giving our general opinions about the show, non-spoiler, and then you'll be able to click on this, and it'll take you just to the end of our video, past our spoilers, where we just give our final thoughts on the episode. So, what are we going to start with? Just general thoughts. What do you think?
General thoughts. It got back to some fun stuff again. That second episode, it was a little too much character development, and this one, cool. We got some fun stuff. Some stuff happened. Which is definitely now we're gonna have some fun things happening in this universe. It's fine. Like the one thing that needed to happen for this whole thing to just start going crazy has finally happened, and now it's gonna get good.
See, we're sitting here all smiles because it was that good. It broke the barrier that we were hoping it wouldn't get stuck behind, where it was just gonna be a lot of exposition. It just kind of rammed through all that and really delivered a really powerful episode.
Yeah. They did a good job of giving us just what we needed. It sort of is starting to answer a few of those questions they've been kind of setting up and asking the whole time and making us wonder about. We're starting to finally get some answers for some things and starting to. There's some big stuff happening that it's tough to talk about without spoiling anything, but some cool stuff is definitely happening.
Definitely cool. So. I think that's all we can really say without going into spoilers.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what I can say without spoiling anything.
Yeah, I mean, you find out without giving too much away. You do follow up on Ephraim and his family and the situation with his son. You do learn a little bit more backstory about Sean Astin's character. You learn also
about the German guy as well.
You learn about the German guy. I think his name is Yusuf.
Okay.
And you also learn more about Abraham, the older man, or you follow up with him and you find out what's happened to him since the last episode, since he was in prison. And it follows a lot. It still follows the pilot. You learn more about the pilot and what's going on with him, but it still leaves some open-ended questions.
Yeah.
So, without further ado, I think we need to go into spoilers. So if you want to skip spoilers, you haven't seen the episode yet. Click on
the Guardians poster right there. Look at that thing.
Click on that, and it'll just give you our final thoughts.
When is that coming out? This Friday already? Oh,
this Friday.
I want to see
this Friday, and we're gonna go watch it on Wednesday.
Yep. Should be good.
Yeah. So now that you know, spoiler territory.
Here we go.
Let's do this. So what's the first thing?
That opening scene is the first thing. All right, so we see that once they become this vampire, no more nose, no more normal-looking ears. They got some weird-looking teeth. They are just totally decrepit, dead-looking, and this guy's putting on these prosthetics every single day, and at the end he says, soon I will no longer have to hide behind this facade, essentially, and it's like, oh my God, that's pretty cool.
That, to be completely honest, when that started, I thought it was the older character.
I kind of thought it might have been it too.
Yeah, I thought that was
first.
him. So I was like, "Oh my God!" So is this guy some kind of like really old ancient vampire or what? But as soon as the camera pans around and you see that he doesn't have a nose, his ears are open, his teeth are all nasty. Oh my God! And it wasn't until I actually saw his image in the mirror that I knew who it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, to see him put the nose on and then apply the neck, and you see the gnarly neck where they have like an opening or whatever it is.
Yeah, it looked a little gross.
It was, but it was done really well.
It was.
The prosthetics were done extremely well. It had a little bit of like a Lord Voldemort kind of look to it without the nose.
Probably because, the no nose thing probably had that feeling.
But man, it was creepy as crap.
Yeah. It was,
it was good.
It was pretty neat.
It was a really good way to open that show because the last episode they opened with the exterminator, which was cool, but it didn't have that like dramatic. It didn't have that like that kind of scary, dramatic horror feeling effect. Okay. This definitely had that.
Yeah.
It definitely started, and you knew this was going to be an interesting episode right from the beginning because of the way it started.
Definitely, and I enjoy finding out more about that character, finding out for sure. Oh yeah, he's one of these vampire guys, and it also makes a little more sense why I mean, even though he does show some emotion on his face, for the most part, he's pretty solemn.
A blank slate.
Yeah, exactly. Now it makes sense. If half of his face is prosthetics, then that makes sense why there's not too much animation going on when he's talking.
Right.
Which is cool. And then, so right after we have that opening scene, we cut to Ephraim and his coworker, the girl, talking to the boss of the CDC about what happened to all these bodies. They're all disappeared, and they're assuming the military came in, took all the bodies.
As everyone always does when stuff happens. It's like,
all these
blame the military.
Yeah, they definitely didn't come back to life because they still have no clue at this point that has happened.
Right.
So, yeah, they're still assuming, the military came in, they're trying to hide what's going on, cover up. But then, right as the CDC boss is getting in that elevator, Ephraim brings up a very good point that makes him kind of think. He says, well, if it was the military, why would they leave 4 people? Why?
Yeah.
Which, exactly.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense,
Yeah, which was I'm glad they brought that. I'm glad that they put that in there. Which I'm sure it probably came from the novel, but it's good that they didn't just leave it open. That he says that because now it's like, well, that completely justifies all that. So yeah, it was definitely an important piece.
It's good to know that they're thinking outside of the box and not just going along with that whole mindset of just believing everything they're told.
Exactly.
It must be the military. They're not just going with what necessarily seems like the most logical way of looking at it.
Right.
They're starting to think outside the box, which is good because I'm so tired of them making all these decisions because it's what you would normally think in this situation. It's like, no, come on. Really, in this universe, they've never seen a vampire movie or anything where somebody comes back to life and nobody ever thinks, I don't know. I mean, I guess I wouldn't necessarily think that very first thought either, but I guess we just have more insight into it than they do.
Right.
But, so that happened, and then we start finding out why Samwise, Sean Astin, why Sean Astin did what he did.
His character's name's Jim. Is it Jim?
I think so. Something normal like that.
Yeah. It's funny. Whenever we record these, I forget the names. Yeah. And as soon as we finish, I'm like, oh, that character.
The only one I remember is Ephraim. That's the only one I can remember.
Yeah. But, you find out that his wife has cancer.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why he's been doing all these deals, because he obviously gets a payout for it. Mm-hmm. So he's been using that money to try to treat his wife's cancer.
Yeah.
And he tries to set up a meeting so he can try to get out of this whole thing, because now he's realizing what's happening because of what he did and let that coffin go across the bay. So he's trying to get out of this situation, but things clearly don't go his way.
No, I mean, as soon as he's offered the opportunity to possibly cure his wife, which, by the way, I'm starting to think, what if they're just going to infect all these people with this vampire disease, essentially, and then, hey, she's alive, but she's a vampire now. Right. So I'm like, ooh, that could be kind of fun. Maybe that's their secret way that they're going to treat people or whatever. I mean, that could be an interesting way to take this, since it does seem like this head vampire guy is the one in charge of making these decisions and making things happen.
Right.
So, yeah, that's pretty interesting. But it still seems like Sean Astin's character doesn't necessarily seem all into it. It's like, cool, they're helping me out, but he definitely seems to still have the mindset of a person who knows he's doing something wrong. He's only going along with it to help his wife.
Yeah, he's definitely living in regret.
Yeah,
definitely. Which I like, because in the last episode we didn't know exactly why he did it, and we thought he was just a bad guy. And now you get the other side of it, where you see, okay, he's doing it for his wife.
Yeah.
And he knows he's doing a wrong thing, and he knows it's going to come back and probably bite him in the ass. And he feels completely guilty about it, but he wants to save his wife.
Yeah, exactly.
So you feel for him, even though you are disappointed in the character. So it's tough.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that will come back to bite him in the ass no matter what.
It might. So I did catch a little of the little clip they show at the end of, like, the preview of next week's episode, which I hate watching those things because they give away so much. Yeah. And he was sort of taught, and never mind, I won't even say it, but yeah.
Don't spoil
don't spoil something we're spoiling for the next week.
Don't spoil anything that hasn't come out yet.
No, it doesn't. I mean, it wasn't a big deal, but and so then we cut to the old gentleman who was locked up, Abraham. He's in a courtroom getting talked to by the judge, and he's but definitely he's got his story down.
He does.
I'm just an old man. I don't know what I was doing. I just ended up there. Okay.
It was very
All
much.
right.
It's very much reminds me of like when the Joker used to was selling stories in the Dark Knight. Like he knows how to manipulate everything to kind of go his way. So he can get out of things. Yeah,
which was good. He definitely figured out his way out of there pretty easily.
Right, and you do find out a little bit more about him. You do find out that he was from a concentration camp from World War II, and he is his wife did die, so he is a widower.
Which makes me think that's got to be what the heart is. The heart has to be his wife. There's no doubt in my mind anymore about
exactly. And I think what I'm starting to lean towards is perhaps maybe she ended up turning into a vampire, and he had to kill her.
Yeah.
Because he keeps every time he runs into these CDC guys, he always tells them, "You need to find the bodies. You need to cut the heads off." And I think he probably at some point had to make a decision in the past where he was the one who had to kill her.
Yeah.
And
well, he keeps saying burn the bodies also, which he must have done and just kept the heart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he's on trial and all the charges end up being dropped.
Yeah.
So because he tells the judge, I'll remove the blade and have it melted. And the judge makes a little joke. You should just try a cane with a rubber bottom. Or whatever, but, and then he meets up with the female character from the CDC, and she tries to persuade him to come with them to try to help them.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to tell them. He's still hesitant to tell them anything about exactly what's going on. Because he doesn't really. I don't think he fully trusts her.
Yeah, which I mean, I could see.
I can see.
Possibly.
I mean, that's kind of a big thing to entrust in somebody. He's like, listen, there are vampires running around.
Yeah, just come to my place real quick. I'll show you a heart that can eat blood out of,
Exactly.
You'll believe me.
Exactly.
But yeah, it would definitely be a weird thing to spring on somebody.
Right.
But I kind of like how he essentially tells her, look, do what I'm telling you. If you're not going to do what I'm telling you, you're worthless to me. Just get away. You're wasting my time.
Exactly.
Which I kind of enjoyed. I was like, okay, pretty much. It's like, if you're not going to do what I'm telling you to do, you should really listen to me. But if you're not going to, get out of my way because I'm going to do it for you.
Right. And that's what I like about that character. He's very much like he's like a very much more badass Obi-Wan Kenobi type of character because he's like gone through all this stuff already.
Yeah. And so after we see him get out, we go to Ephraim at his hearing for his child, essentially, to figure out where his son is going to go, who's going to get custody of his child. And his kid ends up saying, like, what, a couple weeks a month or a couple weekends a month or something?
He basically, the kid basically, at least from his perspective, he thinks he's doing something that's to the benefit of his father.
Yeah.
And, he doesn't want to put pressure on his father. He wants to make sure that his father is always there on time. So he tells the court that, he's fine with his father getting visitation rights, maybe a couple times a month.
Yeah.
Which Ephraim obviously doesn't want. He wants something that's more consistent and that's more often. I mean, he wants to see his son more often than just once or twice a month. And Ephraim is clearly not happy about that. He's really
except the one thing that threw me off a little is he starts talking to his wife, and he's like, can't he see he's the most important thing to me? And I'm just like, I haven't even got the vibe. I get the vibe that he cares about his child, but I do not at all get the vibe that he's the most important thing to him.
Right.
And it just, if he really did mean it, I don't feel it from what we've seen so far in this show. But if he was just saying it, then I don't know. It just sort of felt a little clunky to me, and I was like, I don't get this from that character necessarily.
I think that's done on purpose. I think they establish him like that purposely. For him, they want. I think what they're trying to do is they want Ephraim to think that's how it is.
Yeah.
That that his son is the most important thing. But us from the audience, we know that that's not true because he's so involved in his work. He's so involved in what he's doing at the CDC. But he's in denial about it. Yeah, he's in denial.
Yeah,
I think that's maybe the way they're trying to play it.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
Which would make a little bit more sense, I guess.
Yes.
But the wife tells him, if you really do feel that way, you have to show it to him.
Yeah. Okay. So he doesn't he's in his own state of mind
exactly.
where he thinks, oh, I've been treating this kid perfectly.
Right.
Yeah. That makes sense. So then, after the hearing, we see he makes his way to the French gentleman's house finally, and takes a brief look around, sees the water with some hair in it that looks a little bloody and gross.
And there's clearly blood on the edge of the tub. Yeah.
And then gets a phone call and leaves before checking out the rest of the house.
Which, why didn't he call someone, like police or somebody, to go
just leave the place and then
quarantine it?
And then even later he talked about the fact that he went there and didn't find anything.
Right.
And I'm like, you didn't even look in half the rooms. You walked upstairs, looked in a bathroom.
But you did find something. It'd be one thing if he walked in there, There was no tub with water. There was no hair. There was no blood. No nothing.
Yeah.
But all that stuff was there.
There were so many signs that you should pay more attention to what's going on here.
You should,
and he just
or
left
call
and
someone from the
didn't even
CDC and have them quarantine the area.
Yeah.
So that part I was like, that could have been flushed out a little bit better.
It could have been.
Yeah.
It seems like characters are still making some stupid decisions
Right.
and rushing to things.
Right.
Even at this point, and it's a little annoying when that sort of a thing happens where, come on, take a look around.
Right.
And then the little demon vampire girl with half her hair missing is looking at him from around a corner right as he leaves, and it's like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Come on, just take a look around before you decide this, and there's nothing going on.
Right.
Even, especially since you found signs of something going on.
Right.
But whatever, at least, later on it doesn't matter anyway. But, so then we cut to pest control guy, and he's in the office, and he's getting told, "Oh, you got to go take care of this important mayor, the one rat in his apartment before you go in." What was it, like a hospital and something else that was the alternative to go to?
Yeah,
and we see the pest control guy is not very happy about that. He definitely seems to have a problem with authority. Not a big fan of anybody trying to tell him what to do, or he's not down.
He likes to do his own thing.
Yeah, he doesn't care if you're the mayor, how powerful you are. He's gonna do his own thing. But he goes there and he has a very pleasant conversation with the mayor. I mean, he's just sitting there doing his.
Yeah, he's making small talk, really.
Making small talk,
and the whole reason he has to go there is because the daughter gets bit by a rat.
Yeah,
which I think is probably. Why put that in there if it's not going to manifest into something?
I don't know, because then, I mean, when he leaves, we see all those rats running towards the water or whatever, so there's something
There's
going
something
on
happening
with the rats.
underground.
Something.
Yeah, so I have a feeling that that little girl is probably going to turn into a vampire.
Maybe. I could see that possibly happening.
So, and I think that's how he's going to play into the story. He's going to find out that these rats are coming from somewhere. There's something going on underground, and that's what's going to lead him to the CDC, and I think that's how he's going to end up being partnered up with F.
Okay, I can see that happening. Yeah,
at least something. I mean, why else tell this character's completely like opposite end story?
Yeah.
And not have it try to lead in somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
So
he's definitely going to tie in.
But he's a cool character.
Yeah, I like him still. He's fun.
He is. He's fun.
Yeah, he definitely, his attitude is enjoyable.
Yeah, definitely.
And then after that, we see the survivor guy at home with his family.
Yes.
This is the second. We saw a little bit of him earlier, just sort of doing his own thing. His teeth are starting to hurt a little bit. He's getting all this attention outside of his house. But then when we cut back to him later, that's when the fun stuff happens. He is not feeling well, goes down to the kitchen, and then decides to drink steak blood out of a Tupperware glass container with his little worm tentacles coming out of his mouth.
These things are so disgusting.
As his wife sits silently and watches.
Yeah.
And then just walks out of the room like nothing just happened.
And the dog is starting to really take notice of his change. The dog's really starting to be more aggressive toward him. And and like there was a scene before that where we first get reintroduced to that character.
Yeah.
And the wife tells him you're not well. You're clearly not well.
Yeah.
You should probably go back. I don't know if you were ready to leave quarantine. All that kind of stuff. And they do have 2 kids, so she's afraid for him because he is a father. They have children. Yeah. He is sick, and I'm sure she's thinking like, we don't want to get infected with whatever you have because we don't know what the hell you have.
Exactly.
But yeah, he does start showing more signs of his vampireness.
Yeah.
So
which is man.
I think though he physically looks the most normal. Well, except
so far.
Yeah. And all their eyes are all bloodshot, which is really creepy and gross too. But yeah, the whole part with the steak with the tentacle in the blood, that was it's starting to get there.
It doesn't really seem like he's himself anymore because if you were completely yourself and you saw tentacles come out of your own mouth, because that's right in front of his face, he knows that they're coming out of his mouth.
Something's happening, yeah.
So I don't know where he's at mindset wise, but he's just enough of himself to have conversations with people and realize what's going on, kind of without knowing what's really going on.
Yeah.
And then his wife just stands there, just mouth open, not knowing what to do, and I'm like,
at that point, that's when you call the police.
Yeah, you do something because
you get the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah.
Because that's creepy. If I saw someone in my kitchen drinking blood with tentacle mouth,
yeah, I'm freaking out a little bit.
Yeah. If I had a gun, I'd shoot them, and then I'd call the cops.
Even if you were married to them and you cared about them. I mean,
that's come on, that's pretty extreme. He's sitting there wiping blood off his mouth. I'm like, something wrong with you.
It's a little scary.
Yeah.
But then after that, we cut back to the old gentleman. What's his name again?
Abraham.
He's back at his
Pawn
shop, and in runs his little girl assistant with the flight manifest. And we're like, okay, so he's got like his little hacker girl here who can hook him up with stuff since he's not quite as young and spry as he used to be. And so I have a feeling she's probably going to come into play later on, help him out to figure out stuff. She seems they introduced her as enough of a character to where I think we're probably going to see some more of her.
Yeah.
And now we know that he knows if they're not going to listen to me, I'm going to go and do this myself.
He's going to go mess some people up.
Yep, which is
vampires,
good because I would like to see somebody do something finally.
Yeah, but you get a little taste of that.
You do. Yeah. So, oh man, I'm excited to see what he's going to do. And then let's see, nothing else. He gives her a PlayStation 4 or something, and then she goes on her way. And
so she leaves.
And then we cut back to Ephraim's son. Sitting there, he hears a noise, goes downstairs, looks out the back window, and I'm like, what is going is this the vampire girl? Like, that's what I'm thinking. Like, this is that young vampire girl coming to get him. But then I'm like, how would she have any idea where this is, who this person is? I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And then we cut to outside and see it's the mom looking through a photo album. And I was just like, okay, this is weird. Like, all the character interactions between people, I can't tell how people really feel about each other because it seems like, she really cares so much about him. But 2 hours ago, she's sitting there telling him, if you want to come, just give me notice ahead of time. And it's like, that doesn't seem, I can't tell how she's really feeling. It's weird. And it's like, I almost could have completely done without that scene. I didn't really need that scene.
The scene didn't have any significance to the episode.
Yeah.
So it was like, it was kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
It was like, if it wasn't there, I wouldn't care.
Exactly.
And I don't really even care that it's there.
Yep.
I mean, it would have had some significance, I suppose, if there was some dialogue. But
the son just walks out, sits with her, and then she hugs him, and that's all that happens.
Nothing really happened. So
so that was, I don't know, it just kind of annoyed me that they were trying to mess with how they were feeling again. And, and I don't know, they're a bit wishy-washy with how these characters feel about each other, which is a little annoying.
And I guess, they're trying to make the audience at least make the audience feel like the mother still has some feelings toward Ephraim, which I understand. I just don't think you needed to do in that scene. You could have done it in the previous scene and just be done with that.
Yeah.
You didn't have to show the mother and the son again.
Although, if that new guy gets taken out of the picture somehow in the future, like we discussed might happen, then that scene might make a little more sense. Because it's like, okay, this makes sense why she goes back to him, because she really does still care about him, if that does happen in the future or whatever. I don't know if it is. Yeah. But, so I guess, I don't know. In the future, it might make sense. But at the moment, it just annoyed me a little bit. So then we cut to German vampire guy assisting in the suicide of the airline boss.
Was he the FAA?
I think it was the guy who owns the airline that it happened on, the Regis airline or whatever. It was the owner of that.
He's in his office, sitting there having a nice little drink, trying to drink away his sorrows. Yeah. And then Yusuf, Mr. Vampire Man, shows up. Clearly very powerful.
That's exactly what I thought, too. Yeah. Just shows the extent of what this guy is capable of doing.
Because this guy literally just grabs his hand with his own, takes his hand, puts it on the revolver, puts the revolver to his head, and just pulls the trigger and blows his brains out. Yep. So this guy clearly is just a killer. Yeah. And very powerful.
And knows what he has to do to get stuff done. Exactly. And is just
has no regret
whatever it takes.
At all.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But, I mean, he's just able to do whatever. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So that's going to be an interesting plot point, that now the owner of the airline has now committed suicide, and I'm sure they're going to try to unravel that. I'm sure that's going to end up being something where they figure out, he didn't commit suicide, someone killed him. Maybe.
I saw it more of a way of, because that guy was on TV talking about this wasn't our fault. We're going to get to the bottom of this. So I think it was almost a way of getting the attention off of what happened and getting people to ignore the fact that, it was something else, and just go with what they're already saying. I think it was more of a, let's stop this crap from getting out there and not have to worry about it.
So now it kind of justifies everything that's kind of happened. Like, okay, we can sweep this under the rug now.
Exactly. I don't think they're even really going to revisit it. I think it's just more of a, that tied up that loose end. We need to get this guy out of the way, and now people will just believe the story that we told them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's where I'm thinking at least.
Yeah.
So then we cut to one of the most enjoyable parts of the episode, which I just found funny. We cut to the rock star. He's not feeling too good. Earlier,
he's not doing too good.
No. Earlier on, we see a doctor come visit him, and he's saying, "Oh, I got all these issues," and the doctor's, the doctor for rock stars. Oh, let me give you this and this and this and this on his iPad, just giving him every prescription for everything he could ever need because that's all you need. And then he stands up and shows him his junk, and we're left thinking, what's going on with this guy's junk?
Yeah.
If the doctor freaks out. It tells him, you need to go to
an emergency room right now.
Yesterday. So
yeah.
we're like, oh, God, that's not good.
Yeah.
Those 3 girls must have had something that he caught before he bit one. But, so we see that earlier on. And then later on, he's walking around, wiping his makeup off. We see, he's looking even more pale than normal.
Mm-hmm.
Goes over to, just relieve himself. And then we hear a plop. A plop. When he's standing there.
That junk fell down the toilet.
And then we see a little clip of something in the toilet as it's flushing.
Yeah.
And
then,
which kind of makes me think that's a bit unfortunate that it was in such a decrepit state that it's able to flush down a toilet.
It's not waterproof, apparently.
No, yeah. Apparently it's not big enough to clog the toilet. I'm just saying that. It's unfortunate for him. That was an interesting scene.
Yeah.
And then he turns towards camera with
they reveal
with a
everything.
Ken doll area.
His junk is now a Ken doll.
Yeah. So that's unfortunate for him.
Yeah. Which kind of terrified me when they did that. I was
bit.
like, what are they about to show?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
No.
And I'm surprised
see.
if that's what happens to these vampires. I'm surprised that the German vampire in the beginning didn't put his prosthetic penis on when he was getting ready. I mean, that should have been a step of what he does for the day.
God.
If he wants to look as normal as possible, and they don't.
But he wears clothes. Who's gonna see him? Who's gonna see that?
There should be a bulge there if you're a guy. Maybe he no locker rooms, no gyms. I guess he doesn't go anywhere where you see that.
I don't think he needs to work out. He's got the strength of an ox.
Good point.
But yeah, I mean,
that was,
and you see him. When he takes the wig off, he's also losing his hair.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going into German vampire territory for sure, very quickly.
Yeah.
And the one character we actually didn't see, which thank God,
the lawyer.
was the lawyer.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so sick
so
of her.
I don't even want to know what she's gonna look like in the next episode.
Yeah.
Which I'm assuming she'll be back, but
yeah.
Yuck.
Yep. So it's gonna be interesting to see where this goes. But then we get to our ending.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What happened to the airline pilot? He disappeared.
Yeah,
oh,
which they
gone.
do cut back to him before. You do see him.
Yeah,
and
we see him sitting there not feeling too good.
Not feeling really well. Now he's in quarantine. He's in like this plastic bubble, basically. And they're checking him out, seeing what's happening. And he starts... what does he start saying?
He says he's here.
He's here.
And his eyes get real bloodshot and red.
Yeah, and they use the black light again, and they see all the worms are moving through his body, and they can't figure out what's going on. And then, by the end of the episode, he disappears out of the bed.
Yep.
And that's when Sean Astin's character comes back, and he tells Ephraim, they keep asking, like, where have you been? You've been completely, like, out of the picture this whole episode.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells them that, when he went to go visit the vampire and got all the extra money, told them that his wife's been put back on this list for testing, for human trials, for this new potential cure that they have for the cancer.
Mm-hmm.
But so the pilot goes missing, so they split up. Then they go look for him. Then Sean Astin's character finds him in the basement.
Yep.
Sucking on that blood.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. All them blood packets.
And then he goes full tentacly vampire mode on him and just, bam, alien mouth shooting out of you, attacking him, slamming him up against the wall.
Yep.
And then the girl comes down. She gets in on it. She starts getting her butt kicked. Then Ephraim comes down.
And then it's a full-on, like, 3-on-1
Yep.
versus, like, 3 humans versus a vampire.
Yeah.
And he's fighting back pretty hard.
Yeah,
he's shooting that tentacle thing like Toad from X-Men.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
Oh, yeah. And Ephraim finally smashes his head in with a fire extinguisher.
Yeah, which that was a little sad. I felt a little bad for that pilot because he felt, he was trying so hard to be so cooperative with them.
Okay.
And help them out any way he can. And then, he gets completely turned over into a vampire. So, I mean, they are left with no choice. It's either you smash his head in or you freaking die. So it was pretty crazy. And it took quite a few hits to get him down.
Yeah.
So it just, again, goes to show how powerful these vampires are. But
and it's interesting to know that you felt that way, because I was about to say it was weird because Sean Astin's character and the girl, like, it's that same thing you see in all movies where somebody's beating the crap out of somebody. They're like, no, stop. It's enough.
Right.
But if it was me, it's like, this guy just tried to eat all three of us. I'm smashing his head till I'm sure he's dead.
Right.
But I didn't really feel any emotional connection. But hearing what you just said of, oh, yeah, he was so helpful, I'm like, okay, now I can see why maybe Sean Astin, especially he doesn't like blood and gore. So it makes sense why he wouldn't like it.
Yeah, he vomited last time.
Yeah. But the girl, it makes sense because she might feel that same way.
Right.
Whereas I was more on Ephraim's page of, let's bash this dude's head in and not
Oh, yeah.
worry
I mean,
about it.
I'm sure if I was Ephraim in that situation, the guy would get it real bad.
I wouldn't be worrying about stopping. I'm like, I'm making sure he's
exactly, because you don't know what else he's going to do.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's how the episode ends.
Yeah, which is good. Finally.
And as soon as it ended, I was like, I went back and I played again. I was like, hold on.
Yeah.
What?
Uh-huh.
It was crazy. It was a really, really, really good ending.
Yeah, it was.
It needed that ending to end on a cliffhanger. Now they know that they are dealing with something that is completely beyond anything that they ever thought of.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm really curious to see where this is going to pick up, how they're going to explain this to people. I mean, you could obviously, they showed his head smashed in. He still has that nasty, nasty tongue sticking out. So
they know something's up.
Something.
Yeah.
Something is up.
And they're finally going to be able to, they're not going to just ignore everything and think and blow it off as something that could be normal. They now know something extraordinary is going on here.
Right.
And they got to figure that out.
Right. So the big things to take away from is you've got the rat exterminator who's now finding out that something is going on with all these rats because the rats are on the move.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he's going to try to look into what is happening underground. Ephraim and his whole CDC team, they know that this is more than just some disease. Like there's some shit wrong here.
There's some crazy stuff going on.
Yeah. And then there still needs to be some resolution with the French family, with the daughter. Obviously the resolution with the son is going to be an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
And we didn't get to see the coffin. We didn't get to see the vampire from the coffin or the old man.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to pick back up on that in the next episode.
Okay.
And see what that whole story is going to involve.
What happened with those two in that garage?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So let's see. Let's wrap it up and give our little. Overall, I'd say this was definitely the episode that they needed. I was just shaking the camera a little. My bad.
Quit tap dancing my table.
Yeah. This was the episode they needed to get back into fun stuff again and essentially unlock everything. Like it's no longer necessarily them trying to figure stuff out. They have now found out enough to not make stupid decisions and act accordingly to what's actually going on, which is just going to, all hell is going to break loose now, which is good. They're no longer sitting there twiddling their thumbs,
trying to figure
out what's going on, which is good. I was tired of waiting on them, and now it can happen.
Right. Yeah. No, I think overall, really a very good episode, really well rounded. It gave us all the information that we needed. It solved some of the things that we wanted to see get solved. Yeah. Oops. And, now I just want to see the story just go. Just go forward. Yeah. I want these guys to partner up with Abraham. I want them to partner up with the rat exterminator, and I want them to just go kick some ass. Yeah. I want to see all this stuff happen. But, yeah, it was a really good episode, really well put together. And that's really it. Yeah.
Yeah. If you can make it past that second episode, that's a little slow. This one is definitely,
which is still good, but it is definitely more exposition, a little bit slower.
You needed that second episode. Still, it wasn't completely unnecessary. It was definitely the slowest of the three so far.
It was,
but this one was good to get to.
Yeah, and it's the ball rolling.
It was fun. Yeah.
So those are our thoughts. That's our review of this episode of The Strain. We hope you enjoyed this video, and make sure you guys leave your comments below. Let us know what you thought, and let us know what you thought of the series so far. If you don't know, The Strain is on FX Sundays, 10 p.m., so give it a watch. It's very good. It's 3 episodes in.
Yeah, find it online like we do.
Exactly.
Watch it.
Watch it. Do it. In the meantime, subscribe to our channel, youtube.com/thefilmpundits. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all under The Film Pundits. And Eric, where can people find you on the internet?
People can find me on Twitter at thanksfortheview with the number 4 in the middle.
And I'm under all social media under Adam Hlavik. So we'll see you guys again next week when we do the review of episode 4. So until then, see you later.
See ya.